Hi. Do you know the difference between bachata and salsa? Okay. Today we are going to know the difference, and also we are going to know a place where you can learn the difference between these two styles of dance. And right here we have Elisa Rosales, who is the owner of Baila Wichita. She will let us know about all this. Okay, now can you tell me how did you get to know dance and what inspires you to be a coach or dancing coach, and what inspires you to have your own studio?
I'll go way back into my first experience with dance, which was technically at a quinceañera when I was in middle school. So I'm third generation Mexican American. And, over the generations, Spanish kind of just trickles out, unfortunately. I'm still trying to learn to perfect it myself. But one of the ways that I learned how to connect with my Mexican culture was to be involved at, bailes and quinceañeras. So I was in a couple quinces in middle school through high school, and at first I didn't know how to dance because that wasn't part of, my family's tradition, like cumbia dancing. So I learned how to dance cumbia originally, and I just found that was such a really nice way to connect with people from my culture. And kind of reclaim a certain part of my identity as well as a Mexican American. And so then fast forward several years, I moved to Massachusetts back in 2012 for graduate school, and I actually was studying applied statistics. So it had nothing to do with dance at all. I was a math nerd growing up. And so one of the things that I wanted to learn, I've always wanted to learn how to salsa dance because I grew up listening to the music. I love the music. And even though I could dance a little cumbia here and there, some duranguense, I just didn't know how to dance salsa. So I was like, let me take a couple lessons. And, I didn't have a car. I was a really broke graduate student. And so I took my first lesson with, they were then called Salsa Storm in Worcester, Massachusetts. And of course, I couldn't afford more than 2 lessons at the time, but I would go to these free salsa nights. And I would just, practice what I knew. And what I discovered was a really nice community. There were people, so Worcester, Massachusetts happens to be like a sanctuary city. So we had people from all over the world, from Africa, from Europe, South America. And what was kind of an eye-opener to me was, wow, it's not just Latinos that can dance salsa, like other cultures, other communities can learn it too. And I just thought it was really beautiful how not only people from different ethnic backgrounds, but different ages. We had people who were, college students like myself at the time. We had older people. We were all together, just so different, but we shared like that love of salsa, of that love of Latin music, of Latin dance. And I just thought that was such a beautiful thing. and yeah, so that inspired me to really continue dancing. Yeah.
Did you feel that dance is kind of a connection, a point for communities?
Yeah, it absolutely is. One of my hesitations about dancing in the Midwest and Kansas, I didn't think that, the cultures would unite as effortlessly as what I saw like on the East Coast and even to an extent on the West Coast. I briefly lived in LA for a hot second. I was concerned. I was like, well, I'm not sure if we can make that happen. I'm not sure if there will be the same connection, but I was pleasantly surprised. And I continue to be surprised today that, we have our classes are basically half South American, Central American, Hispanic, right? And then the other half, they're American, right? And so the way that we're kind of seamlessly able to dance together and just kind of get along through dance and create those personal connections with people who don't look exactly like you. It's like a big part of why I'm still in the game. I just think it's so beautiful to see.
Yes, I think that is something that in the world we need unity, we need connection, but real and authentic connection. And
Absolutely.
dancing looks like
it can help facilitate that for sure.
Okay. And what led you to open your own dance studio?
So I moved back during the pandemic in 2020, and I was really missing my old dance family, my old dance community. And I thought, I want to build a community here in Wichita. I'm going to stay here for a while. I want to dance with people. So I kind of was selfish in the beginning. I just wanted to create dances so that I could have, the benefit of dancing with them. But of course, over time you learn that it's really more about just the dance. It is about the community. But I started teaching at Evergreen Rec Center. I taught free lessons every week at Enigma to kind of like build my student base. And once I had a decent following, I started teaching at a local ballroom studio. And then from there, we moved to a larger event space. So we were renting out Venue 3130 for over a year, I would say. But then we just had a need to have a more centralized location to host all of our practices. And we needed a place to kind of just feel like home. And so we were featured in a documentary by the Kansas Leadership Center, Por el Amor a la Cultura, or For the Love of Culture. It was created by Julian. And it was funny. I just remember sitting there watching the documentary, just thinking like, wow, maybe it is time to open a studio. We have, we built something special, and I think it deserves its own home. And because of that, we've been able to have practices multiple nights a week. Whereas before, when we were at other spaces, we were kind of restricted to one, maybe 2 nights a week. So just kind of having the ability to, host private lessons, rehearsals, classes in one space, I think it was very much needed. Yeah.
And how did you get involved after that?
Oh, okay. So Harvester Arts reached out to me. I was still new to the Wichita area, and I was more active on social media. I used to post a lot of my dances there. And they asked if I could perform at their Tiny Desk series. So I was part of the very first 10 Tiny Desk. What is it? 10 Tiny Desk. I said Tiny Desk. That's the music one. 10 Tiny Dances. Not to be confused with the NPR Tiny Desk. But I did a tiny dance for them. I did a cha-cha routine with like a little burlesque. And then I did a salsa routine that I had choreographed for Baila Wichita. And so that's kind of how I made the initial connection with Harvester Arts. Yeah.
That's right there. I was there for your
She
show.
was there.
That's where I met her.
Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, okay. It's like you are really integrated into the community. What kind of things have done a community reach out and things like that?
Yeah, so we have had the opportunity to perform and teach classes at a few different events. So the things that stand out to me are we did like a cultural day with Coleman Middle School. And my husband and I spent a few hours in the morning teaching them about the instruments that are played in Latin music. We taught them how to dance salsa and bachata. And so we had a gym full of middle schoolers just learning and having a lot of fun. Some of them, of course, would sit back and hang out on the bleachers, but they at least participated in the music piece. So that was a really fun way to kind of introduce the music and the culture to a large group of students at once. So we've done that maybe twice, I think, at this point. And then we have performed at the IRC, the International Rescue, I think, Committee, and we performed there. Last weekend we were there for their, they had booths, like informational booths and stuff to connect the refugees with community resources, and we were there and we taught them a quick dance lesson and handed out information and stuff like that. So IRC, Coleman Middle School, we've performed at Latin Fest, we've performed at Open Streets ICT Nomar. Whenever universities or high schools reach out and they want us to come out and teach or do presentations, we're happy to do it if time permits. So I still have a full-time job, so there are some restrictions there and into what I can do. But now that we have a few more students who are pretty active, we might be able to send other instructors and students to do those things if I'm not available. So yeah,
That's just really great. Okay, are there any specific experiences or mentors that shaped your dance philosophy?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely going back to when I danced in Worcester, just kind of seeing that, salsa, we shouldn't gatekeep certain things in our culture. It's especially dancing, it's something that can be enjoyed by a variety of people. That was really an eye opener for me, and just seeing that it can be for everyone, right? It's also for the world. So that's kind of my philosophy, is that anyone can learn it, anyone can do it. You don't have to be, Hispanic to be an amazing salsa dancer, right? So that's kind of one of my philosophies. I've had some really good mentors. So John and Lindy were one of my first dance instructors. They owned Raíces Latin Dance in Worcester, Massachusetts, and they helped inspire me to do what I have at the studio that are called performance challenges, or performance cycles. And what we do, we teach choreography, and in 6 weeks' time, they get to learn it, and then at the end of 6 weeks, they perform it. So just kind of having and mentors who exposed me to that type of opportunity, plus having like a mambo syllabus. They kind of helped me create my own sort of like informal syllabus that I use to teach students. And then more recently, we have Henry Tran out of Oklahoma City. He's originally from Wichita, and he's actually a doctor. And he's really passionate about learning and studying salsa dancing and Afro-Cuban dancing. And he's just kind of helped us learn how to teach better. Like, he's taught us how to teach technique, right? And which is one of those things that at first I wasn't, I would say I was not the best at, because some things, when something comes natural to you, you're not really quite sure how to teach it to someone else. It's like, how do I teach someone how to walk? But he's been a really integral part of helping us improve our teaching method. So it's been great.
Yeah, as an instructor, it's always good for mentors or people that like that we don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And how would you describe the mission and vision of dance?
Yeah, I think the mission originally was to just establish a Latin dance community. I do think that we have achieved that. I do feel that we actually have a pretty good size dance community here. So I guess our mission really at the end of the day is to showcase and educate everyone about, our Latin community, our Latin culture through dance. We talk a lot about the history of the dances, the history of music. My husband, who is a musician, he helps me teach classes a lot. He goes into sometimes music theory. And so, yeah, I just think our main mission is to educate and continue fostering that.
Can you tell us?
Some water.
Okay. Can you tell us about the classes you offer and what they should take?
Yeah, of course. So our bread and butter are our bachata and salsa lessons. So we offer those on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. So Tuesday we have like a bachata marathon. We have beginner bachata at 6:15, intermediate at 7:15, and bachata sensual at 8:15. And those classes are for our adult students. And then on Wednesday we have beginner salsa at 6:15, intermediate salsa at 7:15. Again, those are catered for adults. We do have some youth classes that are happening right now. We have a youth Caribbean folkloric program that we're doing this summer, and we're teaching our younger students how we're teaching them kind of the traditions, the history, and the dances of Afro-Puerto Ricans, bomba and plena. So we'll be doing a showcase for them at the end of the summer. So I'm really excited about that. And then other than that, we in the future would love to offer more salsa and bachata classes, but there are only so many hours in a day. One of these days we will offer them. We also have other guest instructors who come in and teach hip hop, have an adult jazz instructor, we have a Zumba instructor. So there are a variety of classes that we take.
That's so great. I think we need something.
Yeah.
Um, how people can get involved or support you.
Yeah, beyond just taking classes, we have monthly studio socials. They're very informal. We turn our party lights on. People bring their own beverages, and we just turn the music on and we dance. And that's one way that you can just kind of, get the feel for what our community looks like, the kind of dances that we do here. So we have our studio socials. You can support us by also coming out to any socials that we do outside of the studio. Support your local salsa band through Wow. Even if it's not a Baila Wichita event, if it's a Wow event, a lot of our students will go to that. So just come out and have a dance with us. And yeah, I would say that's about it.
How do you think about sponsorship or
Oh,
donations?
I mean, that's probably an area that I could improve for sure. I will admit I don't have a lot of education on how to get sponsors. So that would be something that we could definitely benefit for. We would love to put on, dance festivals or dance weekenders where we bring in professional dancers from either the United States or from Latin America to teach workshops and dance with us and build those, international connections. We would love to do that. And if you're interested in sponsoring something like that, definitely reach out to us. Or donate, yes, of course. That's always an option.
Because if it's something that we will do and make the things better, well, this is a good reason to donate.
And then we don't
Or
have
sponsor.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. And where are you located? How people can find you?
Okay, so we are located at 125 South Hydraulic Avenue here in Wichita, Kansas. And if you're ever looking to reach us, you can always go to our website, bailawichita.com. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram at baila.wichita. And you can find our emails, phone numbers, everything on our social media and our website. So don't hesitate to reach out.
One last thing that you say to them?
Ooh, like a final thought?
Yes.
My final thought is that if you're kind of hesitant, you're not quite sure if you're ready to take a class, I would just say there's no harm in giving it a try. You can reach out to me and see how you can get your first class for free. Or you try taking a private lesson with us if group classes are a little intimidating. But at the end of the day, just give it a try. I promise you're going to have fun. You will be smiling. Yeah.
And for the very last thing, what is the difference between bachata?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So bachata is a social dance from the Dominican Republic. So bachata is both the name of the genre of the dance and the genre of the music, right? So salsa, right? So bachata is dance kind of more or less side to side. There's like a little tap. Salsa is kind of its own style of dancing, and you can dance salsa to mambo or son. There are like a variety of genres you can dance salsa to, and so that is like enjoyed by all of Latin America and around the world. So I don't know. I could go on for like an hour explaining the difference between the two, but they're just different forms of social.
Now you know.
Now you know. we can demo later too.
Okay. Now don't have to come over here to Baila Wichita and get a taste of these classes. Okay? Just be aware that very soon we are going to be giving away some day pass for you to experiment what is Baila Wichita. Okay? See you soon. Bye bye.